In this section, we're going to look at powers, also known as exponents. So introducing you firstly to the rules of exponents or powers. Powers consist of a base and an exponent. For example, 3 to the power of 2. So 3 squared is a power. It is the second power of 3. In the expression 4 to the power of 2, the 4 is your base, the 2 is your exponent, and the entire thing is what we call the second power of 4. In general, we say that a number x is multiplied with itself n times, then the number would be x to the power of n. So this is the number 4 multiplied with itself twice, means there are 2 4s being multiplied together. So in this case, x would have been the base, n would have been your exponent. Okay, so the number is your base, and the how many of them is your exponent. The exponent tells you how many times the base is multiplied with itself. So for example, 4 squared, we've said, is 4 times 4. How many times? Once, twice. Okay, so in other words, 4 to the power of 4, also 4 to the power of 2, also known as 4 squared. If you've got 4 to the power of 3, that means you've got 1, the base of 4 being multiplied with itself 1, 2, 3 times. 4 to the power of 3 is also known as 4 cubed. Couple of little things that I said I'd come back to. If you've got anything to the power of 1, it is the same number. 4 to the power of 1 is 4. 5 to the power of 1 is 5. 17 to the power of 1 is 17. All numbers, in other words, are to the power of 1. So we don't need to write the 1. We can just write the number. However, if it is to the power of negative 1, then we invert. Negative 1 means 1 over. Okay, in other words, any number to the power of 1, negative 1 is the inverse of that number. The inverse means 1 over that number. Okay, so if you do have a 4 to the minus 2, then it's 1 over 4 squared. The minus means 1 over, and then you're left with the 4 and the squared. All right. X to the power of negative n. The negative says put 1 over x and leave the n as the exponent for x. Also, anything to the power of 0 is 1. In other words, any number to the power of 0 is equal to 1. It doesn't matter what that number is. So these are a few of the rules that you're going to have to learn. All numbers are to the power of 1. If it's to the power of negative, you invert it and keep the rest of the power. If it's squared or to the power of 1, you don't need the power of 1. If anything is to the power of 0, it will equal 1. You can test these things on your calculators. Right, so let's have a look at your steps that you would take on your calculator. So I've got the picture of your 3 possible calculators, just your scientific ones. And basically you're just going to find the x squared button. So you'll see I've got a yellow circle, and the different calculators pretty much all look the same. They've got x to the power of 2, x to the power of 2, and x to the power of 2. All right. However, if you want to find an exponent with a different number, either you're going to have an x to the, let me just draw that better, x to a little box, or an x to a y, or a, let me just give a box here. Could also be, as I said, x copy, or just copy, or x to the y. Okay, and you'll see later when I show you the roots video, how to work it on your calculator to work backwards to unsquare, cube, or whatever it, you would then press shift and any of these buttons, because you'll see above them would be the going backwards again. Okay, so for anything other than squared, you use your pink buttons, which look different on each calculator. So if you look at your calculators here, you'll see that one has a y to the box, this one has the copy, and this one has a y to the x. Okay, so I'm just showing you more or less where they are on your calculators. Alright, let's look at some of the laws of exponents. When we multiply two or more terms with similar bases, then we will add the exponents. So x to the a, x to the b is equal to x to the a plus b. You will add those two exponents. So if you've got x to the power of, let me try that again, x to the power of 3 and x to the power of 5, then you would say x to the power of 3 plus 5 is x to the power of 8. When we divide two terms with similar bases, we subtract the exponents from each other. So x to the a over x to the b is x to the a minus b. So let's say you've got x to the 8 at the top, x to the, let's not use 4, let's use x to the 6, x to the 4, that would be x to the 6 minus 4, which is x to the 2. When we raise a power with an exponent, then we will multiply those exponents. So if we've got x to the a to the power of b, then it will be x to the power of a times b. So for example, if you've got x squared, and that must be cubed, then you'll say x to the power of 2 times 3, which is x to the power of 6. When we raise a product to the power, then it'll be each of those factors raised to the same power. So the product to the power of a means each of those factors will be to the power of whatever the power is. So if you've got x times y to the power of 3, it's the same as saying x to the power of 3 times y to the power of 3. Right, so exercise 2.4 then is for you to do, and we will mark it when you are done.